Well. Look who likes drama. That is right. If you're listening to this interview, you probably already know the backstory, but I'll run it for you anyway. Eternal MMA 78, September 8th, was supposed to take place at Liberty Hall. Well, the event did take place, but this fight, the main event, the Eternal MMA Welterweight Championship fight between Joseph Luciano and New Zealand's Matt Vaile, was supposed to take place. Australia versus New Zealand. It really was winner in the UFC. Both of them still will probably make it, but it was really billed as one of the biggest fights in recent time that had to happen. And it had to happen, but it didn't happen. There's a few things that happened behind the scenes that not everyone fully knows. It's a very intriguing topic that people kind of want answers for because it got pulled by the promotion, and no one seems to really know why. I guess only Luciano and the promotion know why, but Matt Vaile definitely doesn't. Because when I spoke to him, he's very, very confused. Hence why I wanted to have him on the show, because we want to hear from his side how the events went down, because up until basically a week out, that fight was ready to go. It was on UFC weekend, UFC 293 in Sydney. Some UFC brass were there. It was going to be massive, and the winner probably would have got signed, very similar to what we saw with Steve Erceg in Perth back at UFC 283. I think it was when Hunter Campbell and that were in the crowd at Eternal MMA, as Eternal MMA does, and signed him on the spot. So that didn't happen. It was really, really sad. We got Matt Vaile on to tell his side of the story, and I promise, guys, I don't know if it'll be this week or next week or the next week after that, but I guarantee you we will get Joseph Luciano on, and he will say his side of what happens and what has happened with this whole thing. And look, I'm working on Cam O'Neill too, so maybe we'll get Eternal on one day, and we'll have a chat about this. Maybe we'll move on and we'll never talk about it again. But look, in the meantime, we've got 1/3 of this dilemma, and we're going to get his side. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Matt Vaile. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on the show, Matt the Viper Vaile, who was supposed to be taking on Joseph Luciano at Eternal MMA 78 for the Eternal Welterweight title before the fight got cancelled. Now, from your point of view, Matt, how did this all how did this fall out, and what was your sort of version of the timeline of events?
Yeah, so it's been a pretty confusing time. Still haven't really gotten any proper answers, so that's probably been the most frustrating thing. Obviously dealt with fights falling out in the past, but this one's sort of had no real reason, and that's probably what's most annoying about it. So,
what have you been told?
So obviously it came up on Friday. So last Friday, it was mentioned that there was some issue with my opponent not sign the contract, or there was like some sort of issue saying that the fight wasn't fully secured from like Eternal's side.
So wait, just go a step back. Does paint the picture, like do they give you a call? Like is it Cam? Is he telling you this?
This is through my manager, so They obviously deal with my manager. And yeah, so basically they said it was around sort of a contract issue, but you know, when you sign up to fight someone, you sign the contract at the start. So I got my contract 6 weeks prior when we first got offered the match, and I signed it straight away and sent it back, you know. So I don't know how Eternal maybe dropped the ball on their end on that. It's all pretty confusing still. So it pretty much they were sort of holding on to sort of the hope that they'll be able to get him round by obviously the week coming, because we were only told this on Friday. And then sort of word started sort of spreading a little bit. And then I think a lot of my sort of supporters maybe might have got wind of it and then just started unleashing on him online and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he actually messaged me personally and said that he got the fight cancelled on him, and he can't speak of the reason due to legal terms. And for me, that didn't really make sense at all either, because they were still telling me that there was a chance that the fight would still go ahead. So I was still cutting weight. I cut weight for 2 days until the Monday. And yeah, so from there it was pretty much went back to Eternal, and like we're like, hang on, like Joseph just told me that like the fight was cancelled on him on Wednesday. Like, why'd you guys only just talk to me now, like on Friday, and then still holding on to the hope that a fight would happen? And obviously weren't able to get a replacement fight and the few days notice. It's impossible to get a freaking match anyway, so let alone late notice. So yeah, it's pretty annoying. And yeah, still haven't really been confirmed on what the actual issue was. We're thinking that it might have something to do with like a release on terms. Like, I don't know if he's in a contract with Eternal, and like if they have him locked in to that he has to fight with them again, win or lose. Like, I'm pretty sure he has a UFC out clause if he got into the UFC. And like, even if he did get a shot at the UFC and that was the reason, I wouldn't even care. Like, that's fair enough. Like, if you can get, I wouldn't even be angry at that. But there seems to be no like real good reason. And it's almost like he never signed the contract, and Eternal was maybe late following it up. Yeah, and it's annoying. It's like he's sort of trying to back out of the fight. And we try to get the match for another card in Gold Coast, I think, and sounds like they're not keen for that. So it doesn't really make sense, like, because that show was same weekend as UFC. Yeah, he's not going to get a better opponent in the regional scene than me, and yeah, it was another opportunity like that doesn't really come around often. So yeah, if he thinks he's the number one, I don't know what he's thinking.
Did your frustration lie more with him or with the promotion?
It's probably split evenly because I still haven't had answers either side. Yeah. Mainly just a waste of time. It's like, yeah, especially through COVID, I've struggled so hard to get fights, and if you just even look at my record sheet, I've had like four fights fall through, and since COVID, and then people try and say that I haven't been active enough, and it's fucking annoying.
I've been one of them. I'm like, what's happening with Vaile? And it's like, obviously you don't know the backstories of it. You just see like cancelled fight or fought twice in like 4 years, or I think it might even be technically 5 now. And it's like,
almost.
That must be so frustrating for you.
Yeah, I just feel like I need to have these fights to get into the UFC. I just have to prove myself. Like, I can't go off the back of my team, sort of.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, like, it's obviously not my story to tell, but I do have like certain information. It is contractual. There's some shit there that has not been taken care of in the past for the present and the future. I'm not going to say who is to blame, because obviously when you get certain information, you might get it from someone and therefore you're led and whatnot. So I've obviously I've got history too with Cam. Like, I get along with him, but obviously I was a ring announcer, I was a commentator. We've had a falling out at stage. We've gotten like, so it's like, I'm never going to sort of say it because it will come across biased either way. I've become relatively close. Yeah. Yeah.
One thing I don't really understand though, like for a fight like that, being one of the main fights, I don't know how between the two they couldn't sort it out to make the fight still happen. It seems like ridiculous. I don't know. There wouldn't be anything that, I wouldn't sort of like give for the opportunity. So I don't know. It's everyone's got their own agenda and what they're going for, obviously. But yeah, hopefully we can book it. I don't really care if it's another promotion, but I feel like I need that fight. That he's probably the last person on the regional scene at the moment with a decent record that can actually do something for me.
Without a doubt. I mean, that fight needs to happen. Have you heard, has any other, I mean, you mentioned another promotion. Has another promotion contacted you about that fight at all?
No, nothing yet. Nothing yet.
I just know that it was, there was like some situations that I think have been like, there's a reason why that stuff in the contract they needed, because I think they've had issues with it in the past. I do know that, I mean, this is from him, but like he would have fought without a contract. I think on a promotional standpoint, when you're dealing with champions and whatnot, they don't want you to fight without a contract in place. So, I mean, it is, it does sound wildly frustrating for you to not have any information with it. Does it make you not want to sort of work with Eternal again, or is this just you're just sort of, it is what it is?
In some sense, I don't want this to happen again, that's for sure. Like, it's a just complete waste of time. I could have just been working towards something else. Don't get anything from it. Don't get paid for it. It's a fucking waste of time, to be honest. So yeah, I don't really mind. Like, yeah, if it is on the terms of like the contract, like I don't see how like Eternal couldn't like waver a little bit to make the fight still happen. It's just, yeah, it's annoying.
I mean, we're always, you always do tend to side with the fighters on this against the big bad promotion and whatnot. But look, at the end of the day, it's like that fight should have happened. We needed it to happen. I can say it's contractual, and that is very unfortunate. And the fact is, and this is the thing, the fact is, the fight was cancelled by them. They didn't, by the promotion, they didn't pull out. That's like the necessary factor.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like there might have been a little bit of a few like sort of like white lies and in terms of keep my hopes up for the match and stuff like that. It was probably like they could have told it maybe a little bit earlier, but yeah.
It's a tricky situation. I mean, I know you probably shouldn't promote a fight until you've got dotted line, but you can probably see how so many fights in the past where Cam's a wizard on the business end. Like, you can see how Eternal's probably like, we'll get that sorted. You know what I mean? So it's like, but unfortunately,
you wouldn't think it would ever be a problem.
No, and it's like, it's,
until it is suddenly.
and it is unfortunate that these little details, because as you guys start to get a lot higher and you guys become slowly a business, it does, it stops you from fighting on other promotions or whatnot, and that does become an issue. But moving forward, I mean, because you have spent the better part of, your 28 to 32, which everyone likes to think is like your prime. You've kind of had to kind of waste it a little bit, but everyone does think you are basically next in line. Is there a possibility that you can just be called up soon?
Like we have been in talks with the UFC matchmakers a bit, and it's from the opportunities I know. It's not really sound like by the sounds of it. Otherwise, it sort of would have happened already, I feel. So, I mean, like I've only had the 2 fights since ages ago, so it's annoying. I feel like I need to just have a few more fights and just get a good couple of finishes, and then they'll just have no option but to do it.
Well, I mean, I do believe that Luciano is done with Eternal. Like, I think that's no longer. Like, I think they're done. So I believe that fight can happen on another promotion, or perhaps could even happen at Eternal. But if he's done, say you guys never see each other again, is there anyone else out there? Is there a fight show that's been floated to you at all?
Well, I obviously used to have the Hex title, but then that sort of got stripped from me, as well as XFC, because they couldn't offer me any fighters pretty much. Well, that's why I assume they did it. It's been a bit of a joke, bro. Like, this last 4 years has just been frustrating. But Yeah, I'm pretty sure the only person that I've heard is sort of keen to fight me still was like Kit Campbell, who I obviously bet, but he's sort of on a skid as well. He's won like one of his last 6 fights. So, but like if he's the only one left that's still keen to do it, I guess that's what we got to do. But yeah, seems like I feel like there's been a new wave of like sort of talent falling through, and I'm still at the top with no one stepping up.
But can you go to middleweight? Like,
I'm probably closer to lightweight, to be honest.
I mean,
see how bored I get.
it sounds like you can't get a fight in New Zealand. You can't get a fight in Australia. I mean, surely there's a plan. I mean, it's hard to ask you because you had a fight booked recently, but like, surely there's a plan for you where you're almost like, if I can't get this done in a year, like maybe I just move on with life. Like, what is it mentally?
Yeah, no, I've always said end of this year, if because we have had offers from a lot of the other big promotions, but I was sort of just holding on to that UFC hope. Just I'd like to do that just because it's considered the best in the world, and I'd like to fight on that world scale. And there's definitely people in there that I know I can beat as well. So it's just an easy way to make some money and get to the top. And yeah, I was sort of I think once you sign with other promotions, it's harder to get to that point. So no, I'm only definitely still getting better. I don't think I've hit my peak at all. Bit of a late bloomer, I'd like to say. But I think, yeah, end of this year, if nothing's still really happening, I might just look for other promotions that have had some offers on the table already.
Like, we're talking like a PFL Bellator style?
Yeah, probably PFL, I'm thinking.
What's the scary thing about that? Is it do they, not just offer one fight deals type thing like that? Or, have you heard that the UFC doesn't touch you if you go there?
Not so much. It's probably like a little bit. I think you enter in on like at the higher end of the talent pool in there, so you go straight into like sort of the top 5 guys into like the season, and you're probably not getting paid as much from the start. So you got harder fights for not as much money.
But I mean, it's better than no fights right now, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So that's it. Might have no other choice, but yeah, it is what it is. If that's what it is, yeah, I'd rather do that than definitely not giving up anytime soon.
Well, it's good to hear with your fan base. I mean, we obviously don't see it as much over here in Australia, but the Kiwis seemed quite mad. So the passion that they have for you, I've seen you listed in many lists of guys that are next in line and all that sort of stuff. Like, do you feel that love from everyone?
Yeah, I think over time, so many people sort of been following me, and there's been a lot of yeah, everyone's got a little bit invested in it, to be honest. And yeah, it's definitely frustrating when I know I could be beating some of these guys that are in there as well. So yeah, I think it's only a matter of time. So I can get on the big stage, and yeah, definitely got the support behind me. I feel it. So yeah, it's good.
Is how many people outside of New Zealand just assume you train at City Kickboxing? Because I feel like they think every New Zealander ever.
I get interviewed. Everyone's like, it just asked me how amazing it is that City Kickboxing's in New Zealand. And I'm like, fuck, they make it harder for me to get in the UFC, if anything.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to ask. Like, and someone actually sent a message in actually before they even knew I was talking to you. They was like, if you ever get to interview Matt Vaile, they're like, ask him, is he, and look, this is how they put it, is he jealous of the CKB boys? But does that kind of almost frustrate you?
I don't know. I actually used to train up there when Luke was in the UFC. One of my main training partners when he was in the UFC, we were training up at City quite a bit. And no, I actually like really enjoyed it and got a lot out of it. But no, I just felt once he sort of finished it, there wasn't that sort of, I don't know, I was really only just doing sparring, and then yeah, there's a few people through there that are like really good dudes, get along with really well, but I don't know, in some areas I probably didn't feel as sort of welcomed. So I felt, yeah, I don't know, I just felt like it probably wasn't, um, yeah, it wasn't really for me. I was obviously traveling up, which was all good. Um, I know life got busy, sort of thing, and had a kid and stuff, so other commitments sort of taken through and didn't get a chance to go up as much. But um, and then there was sort of, I don't know, there kinds of seems to be a bit of what would you call it? I don't know. There's little bit of tension between sort of, I don't know, yeah, the way things are gone. I think like people get sort of a bit of riled up about sort of I haven't got my shot, and then like none of it's coming from me. I have no problem with any of the dudes from City Kickboxing, but it's obviously caused a lot of tension between the gyms, and yeah. So I think I don't know.
Are we talking about Kevin Jusay?
Not even that. Like he's done well. You know, he got double promotion. It's more like the likes of like Blood Diamond. There's a lot of people around that saying that he didn't deserve it on like a 3-fight win streak and stuff.
Yeah.
Coming into the UFC, because it's sort of deliberate that it was obviously like Israel getting in the shot. But you know, I lost my opportunity in Japan, and that was definitely my into the UFC. And if I won that, 100%, I would have been in the UFC. So I sort of, people don't sort of look at the whole big picture. They just get to the point of like, yeah, calling out names. I suppose that's how it is. But yeah, that's why I feel like I just got to get these good fights to get in there. Otherwise, yeah, look at another promotion.
So you're definitely making the UFC though?
What's that?
You're definitely making the UFC? Like it's still in your head, it's still doable, it's still possible?
100%. Yeah, for sure.
Shit, yeah. All right. Well, mate, before I let you go, ask everyone this, and I thought I may as well ask you, after it's all said and done in mixed martial arts, how does Matt Vaile want to be remembered?
As just someone, when you watch fight, it's always exciting, and just pretty much just a weapon inside and outside the cage. Most people already know.
Wait, actually,
depending on who you talk to.
one last question, actually, because it wouldn't be me if I didn't do it. If Cam from Eternal asked you to go grab a beer, or Joey Luciano asked you to go grab a beer, who are you going with?
Fuck, put me in it like that. Why not all three of us, mate? We'll just all have a beer together. Great.
No, thank you so much for your time. I know it's an absolute shit situation, but I like your positive attitude, and hopefully we'll see you back there soon, and we'll see what you got in store for us.
Awesome. Cheers, bro.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers,
Kiana.
mate.
I don't know. That sounds like New Zealand.
Kiana. Fuck.